So, last but certainly not least, we have Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which I'm not a fan of that last part. Why not just call it Intergalactic? Why not the Heretic Prophet part? That's weird. So we got a trailer for Naughty Dog's newest game and IP, directed by Neil Druckmann, with a score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, aka Nine Inch Nails, who also did score for the challenges, which is incredible. Have you seen the challenges?
I haven't. No, I've been meaning to watch it though.
You need to watch the challenges. It's on Prime. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I'm so upset that this game looks good because it's directed by that goddamn Zionist Neil Druckmann. But before we get into that, because we're gonna get into that, let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the game. So you saw the trailer. What you think? Just ignoring he's a Zionist for a second. We'll get to that. Just what did you think about the trailer?
I really enjoyed the trailer. I'm really excited. Like outside of Neil Druckmann's whole, I was really, really excited for this game. It looked really neat. I like the concept of it. Just like all of it is really fun, and I thought the trailer looked.
You get cut out at the end. I couldn't hear.
Oh yeah, I thought the trailer was really, really good, and I don't know. I just I was excited for it. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then all the stuff that came out, and I was like, oh
yeah. So I was desperately hoping that. So I saw it and I was like, okay, I know this is a PlayStation game, but there's also been a rumor that Sony Santa Monica, the studio that makes God of War, that their next game is going to be a sci-fi game. So I was crossing my fingers that the Sony Santa Monica logo popped up, and then I saw Naughty Dog, and all my hopes were crushed. I was like, no, God, no. Because I saw that red space Porsche looking like the starfish from Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, oh God, this looks so cool. Please, for the love of Christ, don't be directed by Neil Druckmann. And then, of course, it then immediately said, directed by Neil Druckmann. I was like, oh God, they just don't want me to play this game.
no,
So,
for real.
Before we dive deep into that, though, now, what I'm about to say is not in defense of Neil Druckmann or Naughty Dog, but of all game devs against toxic gamers. In this show, they also announced The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered was coming to PC, and everyone immediately tweeted about how Naughty Dog doesn't make new games anymore, only to have their dumbasses shut up when Intergalactic was revealed. And also, guess what? It's been in development for 4 years, because guess what? Games take time to make, and it'll likely be in development for a few more. I'm thinking maybe one more, but maybe more. Games take time to make. It's almost crazy. Like, do you know what happened 4 years ago? The Last of Us Part 2 released.
I don't. Oh yeah.
Meaning they've been working on this game since they released their last game, which is, guess what? How game development works. You finish a game, then you start on the next game. People had it in their mind, despite the fact that, hate or love him, Neil Druckmann has openly been saying that they have been working on a new game for years. He's constantly been saying that they're working on a new game, but people ignore that and just go, oh, they just keep releasing The Last of Us. Oh, they just keep making The Last of Us. Games take time to make. They weren't just releasing the same game over and over again. First and foremost, they released a remake that, sure, it was unnecessary. I agree. But I played it and I loved it, so I don't care. And then they did the remaster of the second one. They did a remaster of the first game too. You gotta complain about that. So like, they didn't do anything out of the ordinary, other than remaster a game that maybe didn't need it. Otherwise, they were still, none of that even stopped them from working on a different game. Y'all need to calm your toxic asses the fuck down. If you want to complain about him being a Zionist, sure. Even then, to an extent, I am not a big fan of trying to go back and pretend like you don't like something after you find out the person that made it is a bad person. Here's the thing. There is a legitimate criticism to be made about, I'm going to use Harry Potter as an example because it's the best example. There's legitimate criticism to be had about like the way she writes minorities, you know? And there's several other things that she does that's weird in the books itself that kind of hints at the fact that she's been a bigot this whole time and we didn't know, or that she's kind of kept it low key until, recently. And it's fine to criticize that, but don't pretend like you didn't enjoy Harry Potter all of a sudden out of nowhere. Pretend like you didn't, even though you did, just because you find out they're a bad person. Like, now people are kind of like artificially finding reasons to hate on Naughty Dog games after they find out that Neil Druckmann's design is. And personally, I'm not a fan of that. If I'm being honest, I'm not a fan of
Yeah, it's like
pretending like you don't like something once you find out someone's a bad person. Like, no, it's okay that you like that thing. You don't have to start pretending like you didn't like that thing just because. Like, I'm constantly talking about how Last of Us Part 2, one of my favorite games that I've ever played in my entire life. I'm not going to purchase the remaster. Because I don't feel comfortable giving money to that company. Like, and I'm not going to play this game. It took me a long time to come to that conclusion because I'm not going to lie. For a long time, I was like, man, I want to play this game so bad. But like, that's just how I operate, you know. But I'm not going to pretend like I didn't like Last of Us Part 2 just because I found out the person who made it sucks. I still like that game. It's a good game. I liked it. I
it's
got
like it, I wish we would move past as a culture like this idea that like bad people cannot make good things. That's a
yes.
thing. That's real.
Thank you for
Like
saying that. Like people pretend
bad
like
people,
bad people can be talented. It's the unfortunate truth.
right? It's like at the end of the day, like everyone, like good, bad, ugly. We're all human. Humans have the potential to be talented. You cannot discount the fact, like if we sit up here and act like everything made by a person, like people that are morally right is superior over like things that are made by bad people, like then that's honestly no better than trying to like separate art from the artist incorrectly, and like because it's like you're unnecessarily moralizing talent. Like talent is
Yeah,
not a thing of morality, it's just
exactly.
how humans are. Some humans are talented and bad people. That's how it is.
I could not have put it better myself. I'm so
And it's
glad
like
you
what
said that.
matters,
Bad people can be talented.
yeah, what matters is like how you interact and engage with that person's talent.
Exactly.
It's not about the fact that they're talented and can make good things. It's about how you as a consumer engage with the things that they produce. Like you said, using J.K. Rowling as an example, I grew up on Harry Potter. Those were the first books that I ever learned how to read. And you know, like they're intrinsic to my childhood. But at the same time, I acknowledge the fact that J.K. Rowling is a bigot. I don't support her monetarily anymore. And like I don't go and try to erase the history that I've had with Harry Potter.
Exactly.
And like it's I don't know. It's just it's frustrating.